live. You see they're dry. You see there's no marrow in the bone. You see they're scattered all over the valley. They ain't even full skeletons. I mean, the bones are scattered all over the valley. They're just bones. But answer me a question, Ezekiel. Can these bones live? Ezekiel answers the only way he knows how to answer. Lord, you know. Critical race theory was born out of critical legal theory. Am I teaching y'all something today? There emerged two common beliefs linking all critical race theories. First, white supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's just a fact. How in the world are you going to fight against that being taught in any school? White supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's a fact. Why don't you want that to be taught in school? You let your schools teach us that Columbus discovered America. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that George Washington couldn't tell a lie. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that some slave owners were beneficent and good slave owners. There were no good slave owners. Anybody who owned people was evil. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that Abraham Lincoln was good for Negroes. No, Abraham Lincoln was trying to save the Union. And Abe Lincoln himself said if he could save the Union and keep black people in chains, he would do it. That's a lie. Come on, somebody. You let them teach us about a white Jesus. You let them teach us that Native Americans were the aggressors. Come on, somebody. That white folk had a manifest destiny and that the pilgrims were good and Native Americans. That's a lie. All day, every day, you let them teach us lies. All throughout my history in school, I was taught lies. But you got a problem with critical race theory because it teaches the truth that white supremacy has subordinated black people and people of color. The right to bear arms. Let me just back up a little bit and let me take you on back to the late 1960s when Ronald Reagan was the governor of California. And they were oppressing black folk, and a group of men and women known as the Black Panther Party decided that they were going to defend the rights of black folk. And the Black Panthers decided that the Second Amendment wasn't just for white folk. So they strapped themselves with guns and showed up at the Capitol in California. And when they saw them Negroes with guns, come on, somebody. That's why I say if you ever really want to get gun laws changed, just strap all these Negroes up. They'll change them laws before the week is over. When the Black Panthers, watch this, I want you to read, the California legislator passed what was called the Mulford Act. It was a gun control act that decided who could get guns, who couldn't get guns, what could be in your background, what couldn't be in your background. It was the first time in history that the National Rifle Association, the NRA, supported restrictive gun legislation, all because black folk had the nerve to get strapped. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, go get strapped. Amen, somebody. Y'all gonna say Bishop told us to get strapped. I said it. Go get strapped. It just got real quiet up in here. But y'all already know I'm a triple P. Amen. Y'all know what a triple P is, right? A pistol packing preacher. Amen, somebody. Thank you, Jesus. to Lodabar. Your work's not done just because you made it to the palace. Bless the name of the Lord. But you've got a responsibility to help somebody else make it across. Thank you, Jesus. Don't pull up the ladder because you climbed to the top. Don't blow up the bridge because you made your way across. Thank you, Jesus. But reach your hand back down the ladder and pull somebody else up out of Lodabar. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Somebody gotta tell themselves it's all right if you got it now, just hold it for me. I'll be there to get it after a while. Oh, bless the name of the Lord. Thank you, Jesus. You got to make up in your mind that what God has for me, it is for me. I might not have it right now. I may not get it next week. You might try to stop me from getting it. But if God said it's mine, I want you to know after a while, I'm going to get what belongs to me. Sometimes God got to strip what you got to, so you don't depend on yourself. Take away from you, so you understand how to depend on elsewhere. Come on in here. Thank you, Jesus. Our young people are dying. Cracked out. Suicide. Homicide. They'll kill you at the drop of a dime.
90.7 WTCC. Good morning and welcome to the Spoken Word. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan II. And as usual, we'll be telling it like it is through cultural idioms and nuances that shape the order, ethos, and chaos of the African American experience. Words have their own vitality. They shape their own consciousness and create their own context for interpreting social and spiritual reality. The spoken word contains the power to reshape the landscape of society. It is 4 minutes past the hour of 9 a.m. And I want to thank Mr. Kenneth Barnett for bringing us up until the 9 o'clock hour with The Promise. You can hear The Promise every Monday morning from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., bringing you the best in gospel music. Good way to start out your Monday morning. A great way to start out your week. Listen, tell a friend, tell somebody the bishop is on the air right now. Rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're chiming in from. Today we're going to talk about this consistent denial of anti-blackness. It's consistent, y'all. It's all the time. And, no matter what happens, no matter how obvious it is that anti-black racism has played a role, we even have black people denying anti-black racism. I came in and I chimed in on the Brittany Griner issue, and I wasn't surprised by the white folks saying, you know what, this isn't racism. This is geopolitics. This is Russia being a jerk. This is that. I expected that. No big deal. But here's the thing. I really didn't expect the pushback I got from black folks who were denying that her blackness played any role in this. So we're going to be talking today about this consistent denial of anti-black racism. I ain't having it. It's too well established. It's too well documented. It is what it is. It's a reality, not only in America, but it's a global reality. It's a global reality. And for people to be pretending that anti-black racism is a figment of our imagination and that we are just somehow playing the proverbial race card in this day and age is ridiculous, especially when black folk have the audacity to come at us with that same foolishness. 413-337-1867. Once again, if you're on our social media outlets, rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're chiming in from. Would love to see exactly where you guys are at. If you're in the Twitter space, I don't know what happened to it earlier, so I had to restart it, but we're back up. Put in your request in the Twitter space. If you're streaming over the radio, 413-337-1867. Marilyn is always in the house. I see you, Marilyn. I see Anchorage, Alaska in the house. I see Holyoke in the building. I see Minneapolis, Minnesota up in the house. Who else is up in here? Who else is in the house? Checking in. Enfield, Connecticut, checking in. Fairburn, Georgia is checking in. Rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where. If you're in the Twitter space, just put it on the comments under this space. Let me know where in the world you are chiming in from. Would love to find out exactly where you guys are at. All right, we're going to take a short music break, give you some wisdom from Ferris Hill, and then we're going to come back with our conversation. Stay with us. Don't go nowhere.
Attitude says everything about you. Attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. Every day you get up, you've been given a gift. That's why they call it the present. And it's up to you of how you unwrap it. So yesterday is history, tomorrow's a mystery, today is a gift. So don't let the pain of your past bleed into your present, poison your future. Stop replaying the movie. Why did this happen to me? When it's done with you, be done with it. If it seems like you keep running into pigeons, it's an indication that you're flying too low. So set your sights a little higher. Remember, eagles fly by themselves. If you can see the invisible, you can do the impossible. Allow your challenges to be a stepping stone to propel you into new possibilities. So be discontent with your past accomplishment. You're only as great as your last success. So maintain your hunger and your passion. Remember this, within every seed there is a tree, and every tree there is a forest. And what you were born into, it's simply the environment to prepare you for your ultimate purpose. It was not a setback, it was a setup. Your purpose and potential is bigger than your past, pain, or problem. Dedicated to you. Listen to your mama, don't let your mind fool you. Another talk, dedicated to you. Whatever you do is gonna surely come back to you. Successful people will do the things they hate to get the things they love. Much of life is about sacrifice. You gotta give up something to get something. Success is not about what you've accomplished, but it's what you have overcome. For it's the test that you pass in life which qualifies you for the next level. You have to be willing to face your challenges and overcome them. Most people drive 12,000 miles a year moving forward, but most accidents are caused when they move backwards. You gotta stay focused on what's ahead of you instead of what's behind you. It's your daily routine that determines your success or failure. Whatever you practice at is what you become great at. What's more important than being intelligent is having the right attitude. Respect costs you nothing, but it will cost you everything not to have it. So don't be too smart for your own good. Remember, a hard head makes a soft behind. What's more important than your five senses is common sense. The heart of a fool is in his mouth, but the heart of a wise man is in his character. So don't sweat the small things. The answer for a short temper is a long walk. Be slow to speak, quick to listen, and remember this: you haven't lived long enough to know everything. Your character is what matters most. Once you have been labeled with a bad reputation, it's hard for people to see you any other way. A good name is worth more than all the money in the world. Your life is broken up into three parts. First you learn, then you earn, and then you return. You gotta get back.
You say you sold out cause black women are loud and crass. What? And your precious white woman is the epitome of class? Are you so blind that you cannot see? That pale girl child ain't got nothing on me. For hundreds of years we have stood by your side, accepted your flaws and allowed you your pride, bore your children and cleaned up your mess, satisfied your lust and always settled for less. We have stayed in the background and allowed you to lead, trusting in your strength and ability to succeed, never getting the praise and credit we deserve, but having the courage, the will, and the nerve, for being the backbone that has kept it together, for you and our children in all kinds of weather. And now suddenly you say we're not good enough for you. We forced you to sell out because of the things we do. Well, where was that white woman when that white man you hate was cracking the whip? In the boardroom, the warehouse, and on the slave ship. She stood by his side and didn't say a word, waiting for her own chance to rule and be heard. And now it's her you turn to and treat like a queen? And me and my sisters you choose to demean? Well, hold up, wait a minute, and stop the damn bus. Because there are a few things I need to remind you about us. A more beautiful creature God never made than an African woman, no matter her shade. High, yellow, red bone, or cocoa brown, we are more than worthy of wearing a crown. Ebony, mocha, or black as the night, it is we who have always shared in your plight. We are passionate, spiritual, loving, and kind. A more generous heart you'll never find than the one that beats inside the body of a Nubian queen, the hardest working, loving, giving woman you've ever seen. For we give and forgive until there's little left. Then we're forced to put up our guard to avoid your theft. The theft of our hearts and our trust, the very nature of our soul, by our so-called brothers who are just playing a role. And you wonder why some of us act as we do? Take Take a look in the mirror, because the answer is you. It's not enough that the white man has always tried to keep us down, but our own men act as though they'd love to see us drown. And white women have never invited us to join their equal rights struggle. So we're out here alone with a million things we juggle, raising the children that black men leave behind, and dealing with the racism of the daily corporate grind. Damn, it's no wonder some of us are loud. Hell, we're just trying to be heard. In a world where everyone, including our men, ignore our every word. Where are the brothers who understand a black woman's worth? Right here, who will protect and stand by us, for we are the salt of this earth. We birthed you, raised you, and showered you with love. It was we who taught you to love your creator above. We gave you all we had and taught you to be men. Open your eyes, it is us, your black sisters, not Bo Derek's kind who rates a perfect 10. And one final word for the sellout who claim to be brothers. When you turn your back on us, you disrespect your mothers. Did you hear that?
Did you hear that?
This is a response to the sellout.
413-337-1867. Welcomes to another edition of the Spoken Word. That was Rhonda Swan, my late sister. That was one of my favorites. Response to the sellout, because we got sellouts among us, whether you know it or not. I'm sure y'all know it. Got a lot of them. So anyway, listen, tell a friend, tell somebody Bishop is on the air. Let's get it crunk, y'all. Let's get it popping. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're chiming in from. We're talking about the denial of anti-blackness. Shout out to all of my brothers from Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated. We just came back, my son and I, from our biannual summer leadership conference. Had a really good time in Virginia. So shout out. Yeah, I got the shield on. I got it. Out to all of my fraternals out there. So I listen. I see you, Palmer, Massachusetts, in the house. Rep your city, rep your town. I still can't get on Instagram, y'all. Still can't get on the gram. They still hating on me on the gram. Anyway, that's what I get for using the clown emoji. I guess I violated their standards. I'm the only one on Instagram who can't use the clown emoji. Oh boy. Anyway, so y'all tell the folk on the gram they got to come over here. They cut off probably a good 200 to 300 of my listeners who like to get on the gram. And hopefully they'll find their way over here or on one of the other platforms. 413-337-1867. The interesting thing about that is they don't tell you how long you're supposed to be suspended for or how long you can't go live for. It just pops up you can't go live right now. So anyhow, but we're here. We're here with you all. Hopefully they don't shut down my Facebook in the middle of it like they did a couple of weeks ago. I mean, it's almost like I got like COINTELPRO, like monitoring my social media. Oh, that Negro is up again. Let's see if he says one word that gives us a reason to shut him off the air. It's insane. It's insane. Oh man. So I chimed in, and I have been the whole time, on the Brittany Griner situation. I've asked a couple of questions. Um, first, I asked if Brittany Griner was black, what would have been the response of the LGBTQIA? I hope, did I miss a letter? I think I got them. What would have been the response of that community? Would it have been different? And I'm not the only one who has seen the glaring difference. There was someone who did a search and of the major LGBTQ advocacy organizations, and did a search to see how many times they had mentioned Brittany Griner. Amazingly, three of the major ones never said a word. One of them tweeted out something after this person exposed them for having never mentioned Brittany Griner. Um, um, and we know that had Brittany Griner's name been Rebecca Lobo, they would have said something. And the response would have been different. Um, Thanks, Andra, telling me about 30 days. Okay, I guess I won't be able to go on the gram for 30 days, which is sometime this month. Anyway, um, they would have been much more vocal. They would have put the weight of their lobby. Listen, let's just keep it a buck. This lobby, the LGBTQ lobby, has influence, has money, and they've been able to upset the apple cart on some very powerful people. You know, they got folks canceling out Dave Chappelle. They upset the apple cart with Kevin Hart when he was supposed to host the Oscars. They slammed the door on Kim Burrell. You know, she was supposed to come on the Ellen Show and other things, and they shut her down. She was supposed to get a music award. They took it away from her. Um, so when they exert their influence against black people who they consider to be homophobic, etc., etc., but they don't seem to have a whole lot of energy when it comes to defending black people who are part of the LGBTQ community. Why is that? Why is that? Well, you know, I submit to you it's because of their blackness. Because of their blackness. So what I've been suggesting this whole time is both the response in these yet to be United States of America, um, by the government, by the LGBTQ community, and by the just by the general public, has been influenced by the fact that she's a black woman, and for you to deny that, I mean, you're just in denial. You're just in denial. I mean, that's all I can say about that. Now, am I crazy enough to think that there are not other geopolitical factors that have weighed in terms of Russia's response? No, I get that completely. I get that completely. But to completely toss away and deny that her blackness has anything to do with it, that's asinine to me. It's asinine to me. Um, and then when we made a comparison, um, between Audrey Lorber and Brittany Griner. There were folk who jumped on the defend Russia bandwagon. And I won't say defend Russia in that they agree with Russia sentencing her to 9 years, but they want to dismiss that the reason Russia did it is because they're anti-black. And like I said before, it wasn't so much white folks saying that stuff; it's when black folk start saying it that raises my eyebrow. Those of you who don't know the story about Audrey Lorber, Audrey was a 19-year-old white woman from America who went to Russia on a family vacation. She was busted with 19 grams THC. She was released after 2 months. This happened in 2019. She was released after 2 months. Now, Brittany Griner had 0.7 grams THC. Okay? 0.7 grams. She got 9 years. Of course, and Audrey Lorber was a white woman. Brittany Griner is a black woman. So I said, now how does a white woman who had 19 times the amount of substance that Brittany had get released in 2 months and Brittany get 9 years? Just threw it out there for comparative purposes. Then, of course, the brigade came to defend. I had one blue check, a lady, Nicola, who I guess writes for the Christian Post and CSNBC, yada 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 yada. She's a black woman, and of course she came and quoted my tweet to say that Mark Hillard Fogel, who was a 60-year-old white man, had some medical marijuana in his luggage, and he's been locked up for almost a year. And she asked, does his case have anything to do with the equation? Okay, let's look at the fact that, once again, it's not apples to apples. Mark Fogel had 20 grams, 20 times the amount of product that Brittany Griner had. 20 times the amount. Okay? 20 times the amount. Then we had one woman who, we had another dude, Paul Nyland, who said racism is a serious issue in Russia, but the disparity had nothing to do with race. It was all about Russia trying to blackmail the United States because of the war with Ukraine and America's position siding with Ukraine. Then we had Kimberly St. Julian, who has done some studies, some doctoral work on U.S.-Russian relations, yada, yada. And so she chimed in again. She brought up the Mark Fogel thing again. And once again, not apples to apples. She says similar charges. Listen, being charged with having 20 times the amount of product is not similar charges. It's similar in that they both were busted with possession. You know, Well, it's the difference. If I get busted with one illegal firearm and somebody else gets busted with a whole warehouse of illegal firearms, it's similar, but it's different. It's different. It's much different. And this woman did a whole tweet thread to refute that Britney's race played a role in it. Well, I submit to you, race always plays a role. You can't have an anti-black country like Russia and tell me that race doesn't play a role. Now, yes, 2019, America was in a different place with Russia. Yes, Donald Trump was at the end of his presidency. Yes, Donald Trump was a Vladimir Putin butt kisser. But Donald Trump never got involved in the case, in the Lorber case. He never got involved in the case regarding the white woman. He never advocated for Audre Lorde. The State Department never advocated for Audre Lorde. They didn't get her released after 2 months. Let's not pretend that we're comparing apples to apples. We're talking about a black woman where the U.S. government, the State Department, the president, all of them have chimed in. They've negotiated to trade prisoners. All of this on behalf of Brittany Griner. Nobody negotiated for the white woman, and she still got released after 2 months. Explain that away. Explain that away. Now, once again, like I said, I'm willing to concede that there were all kinds of other geopolitical factors. Does the war with Ukraine play a factor? Yes. Does Vladimir Putin trying to blackmail the U.S. play a role? Yes. But stop trying to dismiss the fact that her blackness played a role as well. Y'all always so quick to try, and race had nothing to do with it. Every time you say race had nothing to do with it, we can pull out an example of how a white person was treated in a similar circumstance. They talk about Mark Whalen, the U.S. Marine that's being held. He was charged with espionage. Espionage, spying is much different than having 0.7 grams of THC. Stop it. Just cut it out. Stop trying to deny anti-black racism playing a role. Let me get Lawrence in the Twitter space. Lawrence, you got the microphone. Unmute your mic, Lawrence. You got the floor.
Oh, good morning, Bishop. How you doing?
I'm good. You?
Pretty good, pretty good. I just want to comment on the topic with Brittany Griner. You're absolutely right as far as the LGBT community stands when it comes to black people. So I wanted to just kind of let people know that the black LGBT, white LGBT are two totally different things.
Mm-hmm.
Where you'll see black pride events, black clubs. There's a lot of segregation there because the racism is still very much prevalent. White LGBT is still white privilege and white supremacy at the end of the day, and black people are not invited to the picnic with raisins cookout that they have.
Right, and that's the reason why I try to tell people who always try to say, well, I'm gay first and then black, or I'm a Christian first and then black, or I'm this first and then black. I always try to remind them, no, you're not. No, you're not. Because all of those other things that may be fluid and could change and stuff, the immutable thing about you is that you're black. And this society is going to see you as a black person before they see anything else.
Exactly. And the white LGBT is very, very ever been a part of West LA or whatever, very prevalent with that. As far as Russia goes, Russia is extremely racist. And it is what it is. At the end of the day, had she been a white woman or a white LGBT woman, white LGBT would have come out for her.
Big time.
It would have been a lot more noise when it comes to Russia. So people should not make the mistake. Only thing I want to push back on is when black people are coming out and saying, well, where is her LGBT community? Scratch that. She's a black woman, period. And we should remove any prejudices when it comes to issues regarding black people because we are all different at the end of the day. But thanks, really good topic. Thanks for bringing it up. Anti-black denial of anti-blackness is dangerous and foolish. I appreciate the topic.
All right, thank you, brother. 413-337-1867. If you're in the Twitter space, put your request in, and we'll get you on the air. Good morning, Aunt Marion. I see you. I see you up in here. I see you, East Long Meadow. Mark is listening in from work. Louise, talking about my last gram post. Anyway, yeah. Once again, we are smart enough to understand when other factors play a role. Yes, we know this. We know that we're not dumb. But y'all stop pretending that the other factors that play a role cancel out blackness playing a role. It doesn't mean because Vladimir Putin is trying to do this, that, and the other, that her blackness has nothing to do with it. Let me get Marcel in the Twitter space. Brother Marcel, you're in the building at the microphone.
Hey, my brother.
It's good.
I'm doing good. I'm just going to be very brief. I like your topic. I've been in and out, but I just want to say it real quick. And I think one of the issues is definitely in America with Black Americans and the anti-Blackness we face is that we have politicians who like to they tell other groups, we're going to give you the best possible. Whereas with Black Americans, we get told that if you don't do this, it's going to get worse for you, or things aren't as bad as they used to be, so you should be satisfied. And that right there is a problem. They'll say to us, well, back in the 1950s, you were being lynched. That's not happening now, so you should be happy. Or they'll say something like, if you don't, for example, vote for a Democratic candidate who may very well be awful, then a Republican candidate who's much worse going to come along. Well, we need to let people know that we deserve the best, not just something that's a little better or not just things not getting worse. We deserve the best, which, my thing is reparations, compensating us for land and bringing back our Black Wall Streets. So I think they try to, and I'm going to end with this. George W. Bush, I don't know if you remember the junior, he said something about the bigotry of low expectations. I don't know if you remember that speech he gave, where he said that pretty much having low expectations for Black people, he said, was pretty much a form of racism against Black people with a smile on his face. And I think that's what happened a lot of times. So thank you for this topic.
All right. Appreciate you, bro. 413-337-1867 is the number here. Let's get Joe the Victim in. All in these handles. All right, Joe the Victim. You got the microphone. Unmute your mic. You're on the floor.
Yeah, I just want to say real quick, Mr. Phil always say, today, being racist man and racist woman will show us every time. I will show us better than anybody, especially a victim of racism, will tell you. One example, other than the many examples you just gave, with the lady that's in Russia, locked up in Russia, is what happened in Ukraine. All that shooting and bombing amongst white people. When it came to the African people trying to get up out of there, they ain't getting no help.
right,
Racism got practiced against them. So that's always the number one thing that they care about more than anything else.
right.
Even with balls are thrown over their damn head. So that's all I have to say.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks for
Thank you
bringing
much.
that up as well. That was another classic example of anti-blackness. Um, when Russia's bombing Ukraine and people are trying to get out of the country, and Africans that are there in Ukraine were literally being pulled off buses, being denied access to shelters and other places, and being told that we've got to get Ukrainians out of here first. Y'all can just stay here and die. Um, but we're going to get the white folks out first. And then when you had the Peace Corps warn its black volunteers that you may be in danger in dealing with Ukrainian refugees who may call you the N-word, who may turn violent against you. They are literally warning black folk who volunteer to help these folks that you're going to face anti-blackness. Now, y'all coming to our country, running away, you're running from a fight with other white folk, and coming to America, picking a fight with black folks. That's some anti-blackness for your behind. But yet, America shoots over $50 billion to Ukraine, but can't pay a dime for reparations for black people. Well, Bishop, everybody faces racism. No, they don't. No, they don't. Anti-blackness is the specific kind of racial prejudice that's directed to black people. And there's a tendency that people have to lump all ethnic non-white people together. It's laziness. So we got all these terms: BAME, BAME, Black, Asian, Minority, Ethnic; POC, people of color; BLPOC, Black people and people of color. Um, um, these terms shouldn't be used in reference to specific races unnecessarily. Stop referring to black women and black people as man of color or woman of color. I'm not a person of color. I'm a black man. And I experience very specific anti-black racism. That's the reality. Stop. It's this habit people always get of lumping black folk, our experience, in with everybody else. Black people and people of color. No, what we have experienced and continue to experience in this nation and in the world is much different. The brother who just chimed in, talking about the Russia-Ukraine conflict, which has been in the news. They covered Russia and Ukraine more in 1 month than they talked about the whole Rwandan genocide. So as long as people are being slaughtered by the hundreds of thousands, literally 1 million people slaughtered in Rwanda, the world don't pay no attention to it. It happened right up under their nose. The U.S. government never got involved. Bill Clinton's administrations, it's Tuesday. They didn't care. They didn't send $50 billion over to Rwanda to help them defend themselves. See, when it's white folks attacking other white folks, the world has to be put on notice. When the black folk are being slaughtered by anybody, it really doesn't matter. really doesn't matter. Um, Anti-blackness is global, and to try to oversimplify matters and pretend that these other factors are the only determinant of the outcome, and the disdain, disregard, and disgust for the existence of black people has nothing to do with it, is gaslighting to the highest degree. To the highest degree. And we've got to push back against this idea that all so called ethnic minorities have the same lived experiences and can be all shoved up under a singular umbrella. Anti-blackness is the inability to recognize black humanity. That's the reason why even black people, when people play the clip of Kamala Harris all the time saying, I'm not going to do anything specifically for black people. No. And the reason she says that is because of anti-blackness. She knows, as well as most other politicians, that if we're doing something that is specific for black people, because of the reality of anti-blackness, they're going to push back against it. The COVID-19 hate crime bill that was tagged the anti-Asian hate crime bill, the only reason you were able to label it the anti-Asian hate crime bill was because you don't have the level of anti-Asian sentiment as you do anti-black sentiment. So overwhelmingly, Democrats and Republicans could come together and pass anti-Asian hate crime bill, even though the persons that are most often the victims of hate crimes in America are black people. You could have never passed that bill had you labeled it the anti-black hate crimes bill. You could have never passed it because of anti-blackness. That's the reality. Even though we are more populous than Asians in this nation, even though we face hate crimes at 20 times the level of Asians in this country, you can pass an anti-Asian hate crime bill like that. But you can't pass one if you call it the anti-black hate crimes bill. I promise you that. That's how thick anti-blackness runs through the bloodstream of America and the world. And the world. We even have anti-blackness among black people, among other so-called people of color. Everywhere in the world we go, we see people. Let's just keep it a buck. You go to the Dominican, and you have lighter-skinned Dominicans discriminating against Haitians. You go to Costa Rica, you have lighter-skinned Costa Ricans discriminating against Nicaraguans. You go to Aruba, and you have people from Aruba discriminating against Venezuelans. You know, even among so-called people of color, there is rampant anti-blackness. You have brothers and sisters from the continent of Africa, in various countries in Africa, who come to the United States seeking the American dream. You have people who come from the Caribbean, who come from Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago, and from Belize and other places, and they get here to America and they'll tell you with the quickness, I'm not black. What they mean is they're not black Americans. They want to. I mean, that's anti-blackness among black folk. You know, um, it captures the reality that the kind of violence that saturates black life is not based on any specific thing other than being racialized as a black person. You have other black folk who don't want to be racialized as black people without realizing that white folks don't care that you came from the island. They don't care that you came from a country in Africa. They see your skin, brother and sister. What you need to understand while you're railing against black Americans, when those cops come upside your head, they don't care what your nationality is. They see your blackness. Y'all not gonna convince me that they didn't see Brittany Griner's blackness. These devils in the Twitter space. You got the microphone, you got the floor. Unmute your microphone. 413-337-1867. Trying to get you on these devils, you got to unmute your mic. Going once. Going twice. All right, when I get you up on the space, you got to unmute that microphone and we'll get you on the air. And this denial of anti-blackness, once again, I expect for white folks. I expect for them to tell me, yeah, Bishop, you're playing the race card. I expect for them to say to me, it's not always about race. But you black folk jumping on the bandwagon, that's coon behavior. It's coon behavior. Stop cooning. Stop cooning. Okay? We need a coon vaccine in the black community. That's we got a vaccine. Oh, we got a vaccine clinic on Saturday in Spring of Hope, 35 Alden Street. Anti-flu, all of that. I wish we had a coon vaccine, because I would have a vaccine clinic every week if we had a coon vaccine that could cure cooning. I'd have a clinic every week, and I tell you to get your cousins in them. Get your pastors, get your teachers, get the black police officers. I'm laughing, but I'm dead serious. Yeah, I have to get all of them. As a matter of fact, we'd raise some money. We'd pay you to come get your coon vaccine. I need some of y'all smart black people out there. I need some of you brilliant scientific black people out there to help us develop a coon vaccine. Let me get Cyrus up in the Twitter space. Cyrus, you got the microphone. Unmute your mic. You got the floor. Good morning.
Good morning. Let me do Good morning. Let me do additional stuff, please. Can I be heard?
Yes, we can hear you.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you again. I just wanted to ask kind of a couple of questions. One, have you heard of Louis Fuller Jr.'s work, the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept? That's a workbook for victims of thought, speech, and action, and or have you had a chance to study it as well?
No, I have not had a chance to study it. Want to make a point about it?
Oh, suggestion that through studying, taking analysis of his work and also of Dr. Francis Press Welsing,
I'm very familiar with Francis Press Welsing. Very familiar.
Years in psychiatry. That may be a basis for an understanding of why is there, which was my other question. Why is there more so, but perhaps not to be answered directly right now, but why is there anti-blackness?
Yeah.
And why is it those conditions exist? And that's why I said, have you heard about them, first of all? And then second of all, have a chance to study the works of both Neely Fuller and which
of course I've definitely heard
Dr. Wells.
I've heard of Neely Fuller.
That would maybe give some perspective as to why the condition even exists.
Absolutely.
Should it exist? And then what to do about it, that it does exist, if it does exist.
Right. Yeah, heard of Neely Fuller, have not studied the works. Have definitely studied Dr. Welsing's work. With two very good suggestions. Thank you for that, brother. 3 minutes before I transition into justice. So, here's the reality, brothers and sisters. Anti-blackness covers the fact that society's hatred of black and its gratuitous violence against black is complicated by its need for our existence. So they need us around, but at the same time, what do you mean, Bishop? For example, for white people, or those who've been racialized white, the abject inhumanity of being black reinforces their whiteness, their humanness, their power, their privilege, whether they're aware of it or not. So they need black people around so that they feel like they are superior, that they are the ultimate of humanness. So while they despise and hate us, in order to affirm their perceived superiority, they need for us to be here. It's crazy. Father Time, let me get you in. You're probably the last one that can talk during this hour. Father Time, you're in the Twitter space.
Thank you. I just wanted to go back. We all know why anti-blackness exists in our society. It was created that way.
Mm-hmm.
They created race science. They created the racial hierarchy in this country, and we're still at the bottom to this day. It's like, so it's not a question of why it exists. It does exist. They created it. But we can't fix it because they made it.
Right. Right. And see, that is the point that I keep telling white folks when they criticize those of us who condemn anti-blackness. They want to know what we're going to do about it. And I continue to tell them, why should I have to do something about a problem you created? Anti-blackness and racism is it affects black people, but it's a white problem. They created that. And it's not up to us to dismantle or get rid of what they created. Anyway, that's a longer conversation that we've got to have. I got to transition off the radio and into the after show. So if you're listening on WTCC, jump on Facebook, jump on Twitter, jump on YouTube to continue the conversation as we move into Justice and Flow. This Saturday, Vaccine clinic will be from 11 to 1 at 35 Alden Street. Also, if you're looking for a place to worship, check us out on Sunday at 11 o'clock a.m., Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. for Bible study. And the prayer line is open every day, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Check out our website, 413hope.org. I'm going to move on out your way on WTCC, continuing on our social media outlets. So until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember, God loves you, and so do I. Wake up, wake up, wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No more thinking ahead. Ain't so very much from what it used to be. So much changes, war and poverty. All right. The world won't get no better if we just let it be. Get no better. We gotta change it, yeah, just you and me. Oh, I better watch out. I better watch out. You know, Facebook be shutting my broadcast off. Whenever I play some certain music, I better not sing it either. Listen, 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 listen. I'll play it right now. I'll play it right now. Drop it low for Jesus. I'll play it right now. Drop it low for Jesus. Well, we're in here. I see a guest backstage. Who we got coming?
We have my sister, our sister actually, one part of the powerhouse couple that we like to call them. We have Denise Hurst with us today. So bring her up because she can't be with us the whole hour, and we got a lot to talk about.
All right.
Oh no, we got Justin.
I thought that was the name that I saw. I was about
Okay,
to say,
same
well,
thing, but we got the other half. I thought Denise was gonna be with us. I thought Denise was gonna be with us. I didn't know that Justin was gonna be able to join us too. But hey, hey,
I can. Okay, we can't hear you. I think you got an audio issue on your end, bro.
so just turn it off and turn it back on and see if that works.
Yeah, he's unmuted on this side, so
Okay.
I'm assuming it's something on
Yeah,
his.
you might have to turn it off, turn it back on, or you might have to sign out and sign back in. Well, good morning, everybody. As we work on some technical issues, I'm really excited to be with you this morning, Bishop, for another edition of Justice and Flow. Justice and Flow. Should I go get my Zeta? Z5.
I thought I put that up there for Justin.
Let's see. Can we hear you now, Justin? We still can't hear him.
No, we can't hear him. I think you need to check the audio settings.
Yeah.
Click that settings thing, and then click. There you go. I just heard him. Did you hear him? I heard him.
I think I did.
I hear him now.
We can hear you. We can hear you now. Yeah.
Hear me now? You good?
Yeah.
Sound like an AT&T.
Not sure what. How we doing this morning? So I apologize. Denise, she actually for today, and so I decided to lend for it's always hard feeling.
It's a little bit of a delay, but yeah, well, either one of you or both of you, was what I wanted. So, I told Denise, whatever I can get, bring it. So, now that I got you,
Love it.
got the best. I got the best option. So, so excited though to have this conversation. I really wanted to talk about yesterday. First of all, I want to talk about yesterday and kind of what it meant to us, as people residents of the great city of Springfield, Massachusetts, number one. But then I want to talk about the greater discussion around what's happening with these black women, right? These black women that's been holding it down, certainly, but they're also in this climate, taking making the sacrifice to continue to step up, to kind of save our society and certainly our democracy. And yesterday, I just really feel like Tanisha Sullivan was like the epitome, of that right here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So I thought it was gonna be Denise, but like I said, you're the next best thing, because when we think locally, right? When we think local, first of all, I see you as a political person, right? That's always protecting and guarding the sanctity of black women, not only your wife, but other black women and women of color, certainly, that have chosen to take the step and step up and do what they feel like is necessary in presenting their bodies, right? presenting their bodies into these political positions to help progress us and move us forward in the city and in the state and certainly nationally. So that was the discussion, Justin, that I kind of felt led to have today. So I know that that's a lot, but let's just kind of start with yesterday. Let's start with yesterday and what that meant to you, and kind of what ended up happening, and what it meant for the day.
So, lady, and I also appreciate for hosting Tanisha Sullivan, who is of state. For those of you who have, please go on to a website. Even more importantly, if you were not mentioned, go and listen to her speech. Mm-hmm. It was one of the most moving I've ever witnessed, and so I know if it captured me, it will capture a lot of reminiscent of when Obama, his speech when he was run for, when he gave his speech at the, I believe, Democratic National Convention, and it Tanisha Sullivan is going to run at the state level or whether it's at in a major player, right. and she deserves that. Well qualified, as our folks who end up running for office. Often we need all sorts of education to run. But what happens is we end up getting individuals who are candidates, and so she's got her law, got her MBA, she graduated from, and I'm partial because I graduated, but really, I mean, she just variety of different qualities, and make her an outstanding of state, and so to have her and make it a point to times, what I've seen when candidates come in, is they come in, for the speak or for the time in which they might have congregation or pastor. She came in, she said one of the things that the church, and so she started worship is headed by Pastor Eli and job there in terms of conveying. Then she followed up that and I think what she said, touching, and the fact.
Wait a minute, Justin. Wait a minute, Justin. There's a delay again in the audio. Babe, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, because we need for people to hear everything that Brother Justin is saying. Maybe does he need to use the headphones? If he takes the headphones out, will that be helpful?
I'm not sure. I know there's an audio component in the settings. Mm-hmm. He can probably go there and just make sure that there's some options there.
Headphones?
Okay. I think it has anything to do with headphones. Okay.
Try taking your headphones out, Brother Justin, and see.
Are you able?
Yeah. I can hear you.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. Okay, yeah.
Okay, all right. And I switched it in the settings, so
okay.
Hopefully, good to go. Now, first.
Yeah, I think so. I just don't want anybody to miss anything that you're saying. You're saying some good stuff, and you're saying some good stuff about her. About Tanisha Sullivan. Before you go back. Yep. One of the things that you brought up, and I've been thinking about this, as a Black woman myself. Not only is she qualified, Justin, she's overly qualified. Like she's qualified to the 10th power, right? And so oftentimes, as black women, in this society that we live in this country that we live in, under the way that we've been socially conditioned, right? We've always been told, and I know we're getting away from that now, thank God, but we was always told that we needed to be 3 times better than our white counterparts in order to, get the job or make a difference or, run for office or whatever the case may be. And like I said, I know we're getting away from that, but it is amazing to me how much more qualified black women need to be in order to, run for an office. And when it's so apparent, that we're the better choice or the best choice, in these situations. And that's oftentimes the case. So as you continue to talk about, yesterday and Tanisha and her candidacy for Secretary of State, can you also kind of, give us your impressions of that thought as well? Because that's there. It's very apparent to me that she's overly qualified, to the 10th power, and certainly will revolutionize that office.
I couldn't agree with you more. It is frustrating being only imagine, women of color, their plight, and the fact that we have to be overqualified just to take whatever it is that we're trying to do, whether a job or whether it be running for. I feel that our lived experiences don't often understand is that are absolutely more important than whatever in whatever educational institution. And so we as a people can understand that every right to run for the other person. And when you start looking at the level of what folks bring, I mean, there are many folks with a lot to be desired. And so just looking at educational background, and I just think we as a people, and we need to press the envelope because a lot of what folks are experiencing on their own need some high level to the people. And so when I think about what she brings to the table, the thing is that she's able to relate and understands the plight of here in the city of Springfield. The other, which I said yesterday, is that she's running against office, I believe, for well over, and it's just, and the only time I even feel for this, which is having a fundraiser at the fort with the guard about the residents. So my hope is that I recognize that we do have a fight for the position, serve the residents of the Commonwealth, and we need to make sure that we exercise our right to. So I was back at that. She came here and hired day towards the residents. The first time she's been here on multiple, and I think I personally for the job, and my hope is that users will feel the same way as well.
Yeah, well, One of the things that I've had an opportunity to share with the sister is that, and I met her before, I've known her for a few years now. I met her through my husband's work with the NAACP. She was serving, as the president of the NAACP in Boston. So, we've been able to interact in that way. She's always shown herself as a woman of faith, a woman of God, great integrity, well spoken, just intelligence. I mean, just the best, the best as it comes, right? But one of the things I got an opportunity to share with her was that I had no idea until she started running and campaigning for Secretary of State. I had no idea the power and the influence that office held. And to be quite honest with you, it kind of upset me that she had to run, right? That, this black woman had to kind of put on that sacrifice, make that sacrifice for me to learn more, about the power and authority and the influence that office holds and how it has impacted, right? The way that we have not been able to or able to exercise our right to vote, and but also many other aspects of our life, business certificates and a whole lot of, other things that I had absolutely no idea that the Secretary of State's position or office, designed, developed ways for us, to process all of these other matters that certainly, can impact our way of life in the state. And so
Let me give it.
I'm really grateful that her campaign is really about educating us on how that office impacts our liberation, equity, and and inclusion, throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Go ahead, babe.
Yeah, let me give just an example for folks to really see clearly. Um, if you all remember, um, several years ago when Stacey Abrams first ran for governor of Georgia, um, against their current governor, um, he was the Secretary of State.
Right.
And as Secretary of State, he was able to purge voter rolls.
Sure did.
Literally purge hundreds of thousands of black people off the voter rolls, so that basically he could fix the election so that he could win for governor.
And he did.
That's the kind of influence and authority that the Secretary of State has. You remember when Donald Trump lost the 2020 election, he was trying to strong arm the new Secretary of State in Georgia to decertify the election, and find votes to say that he won the election. So when she talks about chief democracy officer, we're literally talking about the person who ensures that the elections are free and fair, that we have voter locations that are convenient, voting hours that are convenient. I mean, literally, they are protecting the rights of every citizen to be able to exercise, their right to vote. And I think people really don't understand the weight and the significance of this office. And so I just wanted to give an example in terms of how important it is, that we just not rubber stamp the same old person in that office over and over again.
Yeah, I think points when you start talking about work, oftentimes they're able to exist because folks are not the impacts of these systems and how. And so when you start talking about education, it's critical. Why in the world would we want of what the Secretary of State's office? Why is it that they would want us to know Secretary of State's office can do? You know, my thought is that so many, there are so much that that she is looking to bring. You think about same day voter. This is something that is occurring in states already.
Right.
We're supposed to Commonwealth, you know, we're looking to give in reality. We're in the Secretary of State's office to do around making sure that folks voting ballot boxes, and you know, when I think you have you know, when it comes down to early, folks can turn in their ballots. You have a box at City Hall, access by a select group of people. Folks are not getting on the bus, you know, to come and drop their ballot off. Proposal was to have it, you know, in a 20, you know, and she wants to have a box. So you would have, you know, one in Mason, so one in Indian Orchard, and so you would folks access to in democracy. You know, it's just something that seems, but you know, also something that, you know, that the Secretary of State's office, even in terms of mail-in ballot, they should have been working with our legislation a long time ago. It shouldn't start thinking about how can we make it. And so now she's looking, you know, we think about economic development, starting businesses. Springfield, or small and micro business. So it's great to have Mass Mutual, Bay State, and some of these large is
Right.
folks are employed in micro businesses,
Right.
yet they have to pay the same amount to start their business as patients. It doesn't make sense. You know, she's looking to address. So, you know, you just know, Secretary of State's office has jury making it easier to start in the Commonwealth, and you actually have to go to the website that is not as user friendly.
You have to listen, everybody, especially those of you who are in Massachusetts. And listen, you know, I know everybody that listens to the show are not from Massachusetts, but trust me, Massachusetts is a microcosm of what's happening in your respective state too. So if you do the research, you know, if you do the research of the candidates that's running, you know, for election or whatever in your state, and you know, you have a black candidate, you have a black woman, or what, make sure you find out what her platform is. Make sure you find out, you know, what her agenda is, or what his agenda is, you know, or whatever the case may be. Or a person of color, you know, people of color, because, you know, we do understand that all skin folk are not kinfolk. Everybody that's running for office, you know, may not have our best interest in mind. So you need to do your research. But Tanisha's agenda, you know, what she desires to do, it's revolutionary. It is revolutionary. And like I alluded to a little bit earlier in speaking of Justin, it's very educational, and for me it's been very edifying. It's been very edifying, you know, to be educated in this way, about an office that always existed, but I had no idea how powerful, that office was. And but it also lets me know why, we kept voting for the same person, to kind of, re-electing the same person over and over and over again, you know. Um, but when you think progression, right? When we are thinking progression, we gotta look at, okay, who's gonna advance us? Who's gonna take us to the next level? Because the fact of the matter is, and I said this all the time, I'm from Texas, Justin, right? And that's a whole nother can of worms right there. That's a whole nother can of worms. But nevertheless, though, Texas is progressive in far as far as their technology, right? The way that they process, certain things, as far as like the Secretary of State office, or whatever, the way that they can vote, or whatever the case is. We are a liberal state. If we are a true blue state, it's no reason why we so antiquated in the way that we still process certain things. And so I said to myself, the only reason why we are is because we keep putting the same person in office with no vision of progressing and advancing not only people like us, like Black people, but also the processes and the procedures that he has authority over. And so that is another reason why it would be good for all people in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to consider voting for Tanisha Sullivan. If you're ready to progress, if you're ready to expedite, all of these procedures that the Secretary of State is responsible for, and if you're ready as a group, to advance, whether you're Black, whether you're women, whether you are LGBTQIA, whether you are, whatever group you are, if you're ready to advance, you need to vote for Tanisha. I mean, that's just my feeling on it.
I agree. I think we have to be very, very clear about it, that the city, how it's designed to work. The Secretary of State, Galvin, he benefits from the system. Why in the world would, and if you're giving more folks easier out, why would you ever, right? Why would you not stick? That's one of the things that Tanisha's candidacy molding to challenge the status quo. Part of the state is it's not just you have Andrea Campbell, who is running the female attorney general. Then is running to be the first Black secretary. In addition, the Presleys of the world. If you look at the last election in Boston of Black women, that is enough. The way in now is not benefiting in Boston, and I think folks are now and citizens are now starting. We need something that is different, someone that is going to advocate on it, and not just for a few of us. And women of color, Black women, are showing us the making sure that everybody accesses their democracy.
Right.
And we ought to, understand the western part of the state. When our mayor, in terms of how this, I mean, it long time, and this system has been as well, and we haven't had, certainly recently, are willing to challenge. We just need to get better these women are doing in the East of Mass. So
Yeah.
I have for Tanisha, and she's successful on, so we can make sure that your listeners, the state register for the state primary 27 2000, and the state primary 6, and so folks need to be prepared in their state primary, and this could be historic.
Yeah, it can be historic. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's important to repeat that because, we're having some audio issues again. But nevertheless, the state primary is going to be on Tuesday, September 6th, right?
Yes.
Tuesday, September 6th. However, there are options in your voting. You should have, all of you who are registered to vote, you should have received the application for a mail-in ballot by now. You should have received the application for a mail-in ballot. You can send that back, or whatever, to get your ballot in the mail. And also you can do early voting, which means you can go down to City Hall and you can vote in person in City Hall. And then of course you can vote on September 6th. Now, since you brought it up, the primaries are critical. You cannot sit home during the primaries and just think, oh, she got it. Oh, she got it. No, you got to go out and make sure she gets it. You got to go out and make sure she gets it. So please, everybody, go out and make sure that you vote in the primaries this year. Just because
Lady,
she got go ahead.
If I can add, these Democratic candidates, this either many of them on the other side that are running for them, running against them in the general election, are not candidates that vote. And so the reality is, Democratic, state that normally the gully, our dominated by Democrats, and primary is the one in which conscientious of, and they need to get out. And let me just say that you made a great point. Early voting starts. I'm sorry, not it. Early August 22nd. And so if you want to walk down the city ballot early because you'll be on vacation August 22nd to September here in the city of Springfield.
Did you say August 22nd? Councilman? Okay.
September 2nd.
So early voting starts August 22nd at City Hall. August 22nd. I think I'll go down on August 22nd. Make sure that my vote is in. I think I'm gonna tell my whole family we're going down August 22nd. As a matter of fact, I might just set up a whole thing with my sisters, my sorors, and and all of that, so we can all just early vote together on August 22nd. I'm gonna
collect your cousins.
Collect your cousins and them and your soras and your frats and your sons and your daughters and your grandbabies and everybody 18 and older that's registered to vote. And if they're not registered to vote, they better get registered to vote. As soon as they turn 18, it ought to be a registration card, not a birthday card first. So a registration card first, as soon as they turn 18. But listen, I also, before we make a couple of other announcements, I also want to bring up this. Since we're talking about voting in the primary, and since we've kind of already started talking about registration and being registered to vote or whatever, one of the things that I found out when I started kind of getting involved in this work or more involved in this work. I was always behind the scenes, but I'm one of those black women that said, I'm scared to do it. I'm a little intimidated by the process. Just like doing this show, I don't feel like I'm the greatest speaker. I don't know if I articulate properly or this and the other, but I have a passion to inform my people, to for us to all be elevated together. So I do a lot of things afraid. Just about everything that I do it in spite of the fact that I'm afraid to do it. I'm afraid to do it. And so I said that to say that I know that that is kind of the thought for a lot of my sisters who are stepping up, in this climate. A lot of my sisters, they were afraid. Like your wife, I'm sure there was, she was like, I'm scared to do it, but I need to do it, because the school committee needs me, the city needs me. The same thing with Latonia, the same thing with Ayanna Presley, the same thing with Andrea Campbell, and certainly the same thing with our sister Tanisha Sullivan and so many others, countless others, Zeta Govan, just so many others, just so many other women are doing this afraid. So we got that psychologically, socially speaking, right? But then when I get down to the voters, right? And a lot of times we kind of dismiss the fact that they are afraid too. And so they're so afraid because they don't have the information. Listen, to feel powerful enough to do it anyway, in other words, right? And so one of the things that I learned is that in Springfield, we don't have a registration problem. We have more than enough people registered to vote. We have over 100,000 people on the voter rolls that are registered to vote, can vote, and the whole nine, right? But the largest group in recent years, in decades, right, to vote, the largest percentage rate was like about 26-27% in 2020, right? In 2020 it was about 20, it was close to 27% of people came out to vote. And of course, that was the whole Donald Trump and all of that, kind of stuff, which was fueling a lot of the fire and a lot of the reason why, people went out and voted. It's still amazing to me. It's very amazing to me in our city. And like I said, I know that our city is just a microcosm of what's happening in other places as well. Still amazing to me if we got over 100,000 people that can vote in Springfield, that on average, we get about 5 to 7% that do. What do you think that is? And how has the current Secretary of State administration played a role, in that? Because thinking about it, I believe that office has played a role in the apathy, of that voters or registered voters have in cities like ours.
So you that you said you started with and especially I think you were towards the candidates and folks having to run. And before your service at RWC, and it was interesting talking to our young people, and he was, sometimes we are fearful of things. We are fearful of things that does not mean to confront those fears. And so by coming on to show, starting your own show every Monday morning, which I can only how much work goes into it, it's second guessing yourself at times. do it all the time and more degrees than a lot of folks, right? And I'm fearful of a lot of the things that I do. I might not be as qualified, but that also recognizing also motivates me. The other thing, God has a plan. So and so he's going to stand in the plan that God has a plan for you. And the one thing that your armor on and be prepared to do to fulfill might not understand his plan. And so understand that as we approach some of the difficult and that cause us to put up, barriers and knowing that it's not going to be in terms of voter apathy, voters that are fearful, they need if you're to against the likes of the Donald Trump, enough to come out and vote for because you believe in that change, more motivated to vote in has a direct impact on your life. Going back to educate people understand the impact voting in your local lobby and choose, that myself, Councilor Govan, that but for small voices of a few that reign very loud in administration, we would not some of the things legislatively, and we would have not done some of the things prior the to even get involved in. I mean, we wouldn't have things, but for folks being just imagine if we had 3 times with this, right? Just imagine Zada Govan. So understand that at the local, you look at your state legislature, the fact that I'm not going to go there involved as well. There are zero, when it comes to our state that represent Springfield.
Yeah.
More folks to get the courage as well. And then, I just think he served to pacify. So he served to convince us doing everything that is in our best. We haven't had challenge him and challenge this. We just assume that in this progressive thing that we need to do to that office, and the reality is we are not, and we can go for all of the offices.
Right. You just made me think of something else that I think I need to say about Tanisha Sullivan, right? Tanisha Sullivan and women in particular like her, or I should say Black people or people of color like Tanisha. I want to make this very clear. Tanisha and other people like Tanisha, like-minded people of color, like Tanisha, that's willing to serve, like in this way, in this capacity. She does not hate. She does not hate anyone. She does not hate Mr. Galvin. She doesn't have that kind of spirit. She doesn't have that kind of animosity in her heart towards him. She just recognizes and she knows that he's not visionary and that he doesn't have a vision for the office and that he's not working for for the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth. You know what that means, right? The Commonwealth of the state of Massachusetts. So that, along with the voice of God, right, is what showed her, oh, I gotta do this. I got to do this because this office is too important to be denied. For people to be denied, equity, and for people to be denied freedoms and liberation. So I think that needs to be a known fact, and I think we need to state it just in that way because in politics, you probably know much better than I. In politics, people want to make it personal, and people want to make it nasty, or whatever the case may be. And it doesn't have to be that way. It's just that in politics, people ought to be able to state their vision and why I would be the better choice. And in this case, it's a no-brainer for me. Tanisha is the best choice. Not just the better choice, she's the best choice.
I mean, I think you hit the nail. I looked at my son's ball, and I remember last year that where he basketball player on the team. He said to him that your own is your competition, and I want to see how you perform. Folks that are better than you. On a team that were better than them, he quickly had to do more and to even make the team and certainly the team. And so, to pound that out, if he didn't go to play from him who were better than him.
Right.
I think Secretary of State Galvin got much more he needs to improve before folks that have a vision and are just sprinkled. And sometimes when you're at a position in place, and so you need folks and skill sets for you to sharpen your own. When you look at the vision that Tanisha, she's laid, I think, Secretary of State got learned from, even if I have every expectation that she will be.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that analogy, and I also that again it keeps bringing stuff to my mind. But that's another perspective that we don't have. We don't know how to cultivate. We don't know when it's time to step back and push somebody else's vision. When it's time to make an addendum. Maybe we did all that we were supposed to do, and now I should have been cultivating, preparing someone else to pick up where I left off, and striving straight ahead. We don't know how to do that. We don't know how to do that, especially, and I'm talk about us right now. We don't know how to do that in our community, and that is a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother show, but that is one that I want to have as well, because right now, even as she's campaigning, we ought to be cultivating the young ladies that's coming behind her, and so many others. And the same thing with you and Denise and Latonia, and and everybody. There ought to be the generations behind us looking to us, and we're cultivating and preparing, and we ought to know where Grace steps in and says, okay, it's your turn now. I'm passing the mantle. It's your turn now. I'm moving on to this. I'm moving on to this. I'm moving on to this. And maybe it's retirement. It's retirement. But yeah, okay, so Anyway, we only have 5 minutes left. So, any parting remarks? I do want you to. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Tanisha has a debate this week. The debate this week, and I think Miss Campbell is coming into town next week. She's gonna be at Zeta's office, I think. So if you have any of that information, can you make those announcements as you give us your parting words today? And thank you so much for joining the show today in place of my friend, my sister, Denise. Could you hear me? Are we having technical problems again? Could you hear me, Justin? Can you hear me? No, you can't hear me. I believe everybody, and I don't have, unfortunately, I don't have the information right in front of me, give you details, but what I will do is put it up on my Facebook page, and I will also go to Bishop's page and put it up on his page as well. But I'm pretty sure that there will be a debate this week. I believe it's August the 10th with Sister Tanisha Sullivan and also Mr. Galvin, a Secretary of State debate. It's August 10th. I
I'm
believe
thinking maybe today. Let me see.
it's today. I thought it was the 10th.
It says they have a debate moderated by WBURs at 11 a.m. on Monday on the radio
Oh,
station.
today?
And then they'll
It's
meet
not the 10th?
again.
Oh my God. So right
And
now,
then
11
they'll
a.m.
meet. Then they'll meet again on Wednesday
Wednesday, that's the 10th.
for a debate moderated by GBH host, which will stream on YouTube at 6:30. So there's one today.
So how
Right
can
now,
we access today at 11 a.m., Bishop?
WBUR 90.9 FM. I'm assuming that's a Boston station.
That's a radio? That's
Um,
radio?
yes.
Okay. So
And
they're not live streaming?
I don't know. It just says BUR.
Okay, WBUR at 11 a.m. today. Debate with Sister Tanisha Sullivan. I'm sorry, I keep calling her sister, but Attorney Tanisha Sullivan, and also Bill Gavin today at 11 a.m. And then on Wednesday, what time, Bishop?
Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. It'll be streamed on YouTube.
Streamed on YouTube. I believe I got a Zoom link though to be virtual guest on that one.
Streamed on YouTube and also on Channel 2 in Boston.
So screen. So should we go to her?
GBH.
Okay, GBH. GBH on Wednesday at 6:30 on YouTube. And then it's WBUR this morning at 11 a.m. That's in 2 minutes. WBUR. I'm sure you can probably find that on like the TuneIn streaming platforms, or it's a radio station. So I'm sure you could just look for it and you can find it. But it's at 11 a.m. today. Also, I want to make this announcement. I forgot. But next week, Monday, she will be with us. Next week, Monday at 10 a.m., Tanisha Sullivan will be with us. I hope you can come back and join us, Justin. It would be great if you could. But next week, Monday at 10 a.m., Tanisha Sullivan will be with us. And so I will be able to have a more intimate conversation with her about how she identifies, how that informs her politics, how that inspires her politics, and how that certainly ignites her politics. So we will have a conversation with her next week, and maybe hopefully Denise can join us in on that conversation as well. I don't know if Bishop's gonna stay with us because I'm trying to I'm gonna try to get some powerful women, lined up for next week, Justin. But I would love to have some brothers, with us as we had that discussion on next week with Tanisha. Is she joining your show as well, Bishop, at 9 a.m.?
We have not scheduled that. I mean,
Okay.
she's welcome
All
to,
right. I
but
wasn't
we
sure.
haven't scheduled that.
I wasn't sure. Okay. All right. Justin, can we hear you? Oh no, we can't hear you. Oh man, I'm so messed up. I'm so messed up about not being able to hear you that well throughout the show today. But anyway, brother, you know how much I love you. You know how much I pray for you and your wife. And just know that you got somebody out there that backs you 1,000%. That backs you 1,000%. Thank you for everything. Thank you for joining the show today, Bishop. Any parting words?
No parting words other than stay tuned. We'll see you guys next week. Um, um, Come check us out at the Spring of Hope Church. Check out our Vax clinic on Saturday from 11 to 1. No matter what the Vax is, whether it's any of the three or the booster or the flu shot or whatever it is, um, we definitely have room for you at Spring of Hope from 11 to 1 on this coming um, Saturday. And listen, the reality is this pandemic is still with us.
It's still with us, and monkeypox is getting worse.
Yeah, it's still with us, and so let's not let's not just act like it ain't happening. you know, um,
Yeah,
we're getting real comfortable out there, and
I
I'm
know.
doing some traveling lately, and I'm literally getting on planes where probably 90% of the people are not even bothering to wear a mask at all. And we're getting real comfortable, and we're going to be getting out of the summer season soon and into the fall and winter, and we just need to be more careful.
So I got a couple of things. One, to that, I just need to add to that, Bishop. First of all, everybody needs to be aware of the fact that the media has basically been told not to cover COVID numbers or COVID stats like they were doing before, to keep the hysteria down, or to keep try to keep some calmness amongst those of us, because what they don't want to happen again, they don't want us to be kind of shut down and limited economically again, because I guess we're moving. However, people are still contracting COVID-19. People are still refusing to get vaccinated, and people are still dying at high numbers from COVID-19 as well. You can still get the information from your local municipalities. You just have to go and look for it. I know for Springfield, you can go to the city of Springfield website, go to Health and Human Services, and there is a regular update on what's happening in the city. So I'm sure that that's the same thing for you as well. So don't look necessarily for the news to be covering this information, but you might have to do some work yourself, as far as like finding out what's going on in your city, if it's spiking, if we're okay, if more people are getting vaccinated, less people are getting vaccinated, whatever it is. But that should be at your local health and human services departments, ought to have that information always available to you. Also, you should be able to pick up mask and COVID tests and things of that matter as well. Don't forget, monkeypox is on the loose and it's spreading. It's certainly in the states. I believe it's in 3 or 4 different states By now, it might be more. By now, the last I heard. But nevertheless, stay safe. Keep your children safe. Wear your mask. Wear your N95s. Sanitize your hands. At least wear a face shield or a face guard when you're out in public. All right. I just wanted to say that. Thanks, Bishop.
All right, y'all. Until next week, peace, blessings. Stay cool out there. We'll see y'all next week. Deuces.